Cool.
All right.
All right. So, Matt, please tell me your life story and how you came to be a graduate student in this program. Take as much time as you like. I won't ask you any questions for now. I will make some notes on what I would like to ask you more about later.
Of course. So I started this whole journey about 5 years ago, right when I got married. I got married and I was working at Trader Joe's, and my wife was a nanny for a speech language pathologist, and I would go
Oh.
pick her up from work, and I'd sit outside the house and wait. And eventually, I decided to come in, and saw a bunch of toys on the floor. I saw a bunch of stuff everywhere, and she had. I was like, "What do you do?" And she said she's a speech language pathologist, and I said, "Wow, that's so cool. What is that?" I knew that like I had an idea of what a speech therapist was, but I didn't really know what they did. So she offered to have me sit in on a couple sessions, and I did. And it was just really, really interesting. I thought that I knew I liked working with kids. I knew that I liked to talk, and I knew that I liked to listen. I also knew that I liked to read, and I went to my uh, counselor at my community college because I had decided on a major, but I had like one class left to like transfer. So then I said, "Oh, well, what do I need to do?" And it was just this math class. So I just took this math class and I applied to Sacramento State, and I got in with communication sciences and disorders. And then um, I loved the major. I fell in love with it. I did as much as I could. I was so lucky because my wife actually worked while I was in uh, graduate school or undergrad. So I got to be a full-time student, which was like super, super wonderful. And I got to do my school also had a Mary Jane Reese language facility, which was like, this is a clinic inside the school. So I got to volunteer at the clinic, and I did the materials lab. So like a bunch of graduate students came in and they would ask for different things. And I was kind of like helping out the graduate students. And I was like, oh, wow. It felt like they were like celebrities to me, especially the speech language pathologist, because I wanted it to be so bad. And then I got close to graduating, and my wife got pregnant, and I was planning on going straight to graduate school at Sacramento State. And I was like, well, plans have changed. So the plan was to uh, get my assistant's license, and then I could work as an assistant during my graduate program. So I did that, and then I finished my license, or I finished the post grad SLPA program, and then I applied for my license in California, and they said it was so backed up there it was going to take at least like six months. It could have taken up to 6 months, and I just really didn't want to go back to Trader Joe's. So I thought, what do I do? And I was like, well, my wife's family moved to Florida, so I could move to Florida and just work there with a bachelor's. I don't need anything else. So I applied for my license in Florida, and I got it in like a week. And I was like, do you want to do this? Do you want to move to Florida? And my wife said, yeah, let's do it. So we packed up everything in our little car and we drove to Florida. I got a job at a private school, and then I got another job at another private school. So I worked at two different schools, and I did in-home there, and I was all assistants, and I got to work with some like phenomenal SLPs. And actually that's where I heard about this program for Eau Claire. I was working with another SLPA, and she was applying. And I was like, I really want to go to grad school, but I don't know where to go. And she told me about the program, and I said, okay, well, I think I looked into it, and I loved the area. I loved the program, and I read all about it. So I did my homework. And when I was done, I was like, well, do we want to do my graduate school in Florida? Because we weren't really enjoying Florida that much as we wanted to. So even though I was learning a lot and I did like the schools, but I got a job offer at a clinic here in Los Angeles right next to where my mom lives. So I was like, well, I have a newborn baby. My mom hasn't seen her much. So why don't I just move back, and then maybe fingers crossed I'll get into this program, and then I'll be able to live in the back house, tiny house, the story of every graduate student, just kind of like and as we go. And that's what happened, really. I mean, I work at this clinic now, and it's just wonderful. I work with birth to three mostly, and I've learned a lot about like that age, but I'm also I've got a lot of great internships lined up, and I'm going to get to work with adults starting in May in home, and it's aphasia and swallow, and I have a really great SLP that's going to be taking me under her wing. So I'm really excited about that. And then I'm also getting hours in my own job. So I work with 4 other SLPs. So it's just great to like be all wound up in the SLP community and growing and learning so much. And it's like I live and breathe speech all day now. So it's a great, that's how I got here.
Amazing. That's super cool. So, um, so were you able to work as an SLPA with only an undergraduate degree? And or did you have to do an SLPA certification?
Well, so I had done it in California, and when I did the certification program for California, but then Florida doesn't require that. All you need is a undergraduate degree in communication sciences disorders. So I applied for that, and
Oh,
they
okay.
sent it to me, and I was like, well, I'm licensed in Florida, and California's saying it could take up to 6 months. And then when I was in Florida, I got my California license. So
Oh, I
I
see, I
was like,
see.
oh, well, now I'm licensed in California and Florida. So that was like, should I move back to California? Because the wages are a little different. The taxes are a lot higher in California. So there's like that. But it's mostly that I wanted to work in a clinic. It's not
Hmm.
that I had done schools and I loved it. But I really wanted to, I like the idea of parent coaching. So I was like, well, I want to work with like families and stuff. So eventually I'd like to open my own clinic. So I was like, well, or at least my own practice. I don't know, who's to say. But
Sure.
I was like, if that is if that is in my future, I want to know about it. So I wanted to kind of like get my feet wet with this clinic situation, and I'm glad I did, uh, because I do get to work with families like a lot, and I had nothing wrong with, and I learned a lot from schools too, stuff that I don't learn in clinics and stuff I miss about schools, and I like that I can schools I like that I can like go around and kind of create my own schedule, but clinics I like because I get to really see like the whole family dynamic, and I kind of get to see uh, how they're like every day I get to touch base with the parents, and I get to see how they're doing at home, and if I'm doing AAC, and I get to like kind of incorporate those practices. But yeah, and yeah, so uh,
Super cool.
oh, thank you.
All right, let me pop back to this. See if there's anything else.
So I think I could pull up, or not pull up, but I can talk about maybe my the project analysis is the next.
Yeah, just scrolling down to that one.
Okay.
All right. So next, please walk me through the personal project analysis you completed and your thought processes.
Okay.
Please, yeah. Please discuss only what you are comfortable with sharing. However, the goal is for you to help me understand what you believe is fundamentally important to your living well, to your success in the graduate program, and any barriers that may be present.
Okay, absolutely. Let me um ooh. Okay, let me pull it up right now. I have it right here. Project analysis. Okay. So, I'll go through my number. I'll go through all 10 because I can go through them pretty quickly. But
Sure.
so number one, I put fatherhood. I'm a father. I have a daughter. So that's number one, the most important thing to me. Number two, I put finishing my master's. Number three, I put my practicum or my internship. Number four, I put networking. So like growing within the community of speech therapy. Um, growing like just my overall like who I can talk to if I have questions, like professors, other SLPs, other my cohort. Number five, I put sleep because I've noticed that if I just don't get enough sleep, I'm just like, I can't remember what I'm trying to learn. So I had to like prioritize that. Number six, I put work as an SLP A. Number seven, I put sobriety because I stopped drinking and I quit cigarettes. So like becoming sober was like kind of important to me in this process. And it's been a little while now, almost over a year now. But it's been something that like I haven't like received a lot of support from, but more just like I wanted to do it. So it wasn't like a problem with my life, but it's just something that I wanted to just kind of step away from. So see if I can get as good as I can at something. So that's kind of why I chose that. Let's see. Financial aid, just making sure I'm on top of like my financial aid, not taking on more loans than I should, but taking out enough that I can pay for school. And if I need to take any time off work, like, I don't know if that's it, if that's the case. So that's like, that takes time. Number nine, I put reading. So I have to read things twice just for me to remember it, just how my brain works. So it takes a lot of time. So I have to like really designate a lot of time to read. So I can touch on that in a second. But number 10, I put exercise because that's kind of like how I meditate. I do like long runs. That's usually what I do to like kind of center myself. And when I don't have that time, I can like kind of become like a little bit nervous and unwind a little bit. So I make sure that's a priority. Um, I'll just touch on a few things on how they kind of make me feel. So fatherhood's kind of making me feel a little bit sad right now, just because like my time is so limited, and just having that limited time is like I have to make the most of every second. So I'm always like, oh, I got to make the most of this, and my head sometimes not where it should be. I'm not in the moment, and that can be really challenging. Finishing my master's, like I guess I'm like overwhelmed with joy. I'm full of love for it. I'm also like I'm a little bit fearful and nervous, just that it is a lot for me to take on, and I've never done this much at the same time. So I just having faith in myself and knowing that there's going to be boundaries. And I'll just do one more. So sleep has still been really hard for me. I'm just having trouble falling asleep. It's not that I don't have the time. It's just I can't fall asleep. So I'm
Mm.
taking melatonin, and I'm meditating. I haven't had time to run, so that's probably why I'm having trouble sleeping. I guess I'll talk about how do your projects impact each other really quick. Fatherhood kind of has like a negative effect on homework and sleep, but it has like a positive effect on like my overall happiness. So I guess that's not really listed in like how they interfere with each other. Um, let's see, sobriety. Actually, I had pluses for everything. So that has pluses for fatherhood, pluses for homework, practicum, networking. My sleep is better. My work, I don't really have like, I never like I'm hungover or anything like that. As far as reading, I guess like reading is negatively impacted by fatherhood and negatively impacted by sleep, and like my work especially is it negatively impacts my like time to read just because I have to work 40 hours a week, just like everybody. And then exercise has pluses for everything, even though it is like a bit of a time chunk. It's helps everything else across the board. Lastly, I guess I'll just talk about some of my core projects. Um, so I put fatherhood, and then the next column was because I love my daughter, and that affects, or that the bigger project to that is makes me a better clinician and makes me a better person, and then my overall to create family memories. Um, Finishing a master's because I love the field, that leads to getting higher education, that leads to growing as a clinician, that leads to building a life. My work is an SLPA, so I gain experience, which leads to providing speech therapy for clients and their families, advocating for or advancing my career and growing as a clinician. And I guess the last one I could talk about is how the opposite affects. So what are like going in reverse. So enjoy the small moments, keep calm when things are going wrong, provide financially for my family, obtain work-life balance, and then finally fatherhood. Um, let's see. wake up early to work out, take advantage of any free time, take vitamins, stay healthy, connect with music during exercise, and then I put exercise. I'll do one more. So practicum for my practicum. So reach out to clinicians and hospitals, reach out to my school to create a contract, network within the work environment, connect with my supervising SLP for all matters regarding patients and hours, and then finally my practicum. So that's like a quick rundown. Nothing like too personal, but definitely like a good overall view of what's going on with me. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
And then, all right, a quick reflection on that exercise. So, please reflect on your experience completing the personal project assignment. How did you feel about it as you filled it out? What were key lessons or insights you gained? Were there any unexpected challenges or revelations
Um,
as you went through it? And did it lead to any decisions or commitments to action? And I can repeat any of those if you want me to, but
I think I got it. Thank
food for
you.
thought.
How did I feel when I filled it out? I felt pretty good. I felt nervous at first because I was like everything was in front of me and I kind of had to like face things that I'd rather not think about. But then I felt better because I was like, okay, it does fit on one screen, even though in my mind it can fill a universe. So that was kind of like getting it in, like I can see it all. That helped a lot. What were the key lessons or insights? I guess that a big lesson to me was like just that things do affect each other and not everything affects the other thing negatively. I was like, everything is just like clashing and everything is like, I can't get anything done because everything I need to do gets pushed ahead or moved because something I have to do. So the need and the half are kind of like negative, negative, negative. So within the negative twos, I thought I was going to have all negative twos for everything, but I was like, you know what, there are some positives and maybe some like areas there are more negatives, but I felt like there were like, especially exercise, I was surprised at how many positives that has affected. So that kind of like makes me want to prioritize that, which I haven't been doing. What were any unexpected challenges or revelations that emerged? I guess the challenge I had was just it was kind of like a little bit emotional thinking about that this is the beginning of the program and that there's still more to come and that my plate's just going to get more full. And I already feel overwhelmed. So seeing it kind of like in a broad sense like that was a little overwhelming. So that was hard. But revelations, I feel like I am doing it. So like no matter what, as long as I just do the next thing and I don't see the whole picture like that, then I can kind of like just step by step it. And that's what the last part of the project was really helpful with me, was I could see each step and how it was affecting the other things. So there is an order to it. I just got to not see the whole picture. Did the project lead to any decisions or commitments to action? I guess just exercising and meditation, like that was important. I haven't had time to run, so I've been meditating for 10 minutes. Are the personal projects you've undertaken aligned with your narrative story? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. My story is like it's unfolding as we speak, but I feel like when it's all done, I'll be proud. It's hard to like kind of be proud of myself when I'm like in it, but yeah, I think that's definitely what I want. I'm just too focused on the future to like enjoy the now. So that's something I need to work out. But overall, yes, I think this project was helpful for me.
Wonderful. All right.
All right, so I can stop the recording and then we can do yours. Do you want to do that? So we'll have two separate ones, or do you want to do it together?
Does not matter. I don't know. Do you think two smaller ones would go faster? Like
I just
upload faster?
probably. Well, I guess no, it's fine. We'll just do it in one. So we just, if anything, I'll just do like a YouTube video. All right, perfect.
Okay.
So switching roles.
Yes.
All right. So please tell me, or please tell us your life story and how you came to be a graduate student in this program. Take as much time as you'd like. I won't ask you any questions for now. I will just make some notes on what I would like to ask you about later.
Okay, it's kind of a long story. Um, so I have a degree in geology that I got in 2000, so long time ago. And I guess I always really like science. I actually this is a great that great irony is that I really like math and science actually, and like I would say that language is sort of my weaker suit. So it's kind of ironic that that's what I now. But I mean, it's not really that weak. It's just like slightly weaker, maybe. Um, so anyway, I decided to do geology because I like science and I like being outside. So, and then I decided to go work in the oil field, which was very intense and exhausting and very like all in. It's just like that is your life. And it was a fun adventure for about 6 years. And I worked in Aberdeen, Scotland, and then Hobbs, New Mexico. And then I was transferred to Grand Junction, Colorado, which is where I actually ended up staying because it's not really an oil field town. And when I was transferred here, I was like, oh, this is nice. It's not like your typical oil field.
Very
Um,
cool.
so so anyway, and that was I worked for Schlumberger Oilfield Services for about 6 years, and then I got pregnant with my oldest daughter, and at that point, I said, "Okay, oil field, no, thank you. Like that's not going to work because it is so intensive. I mean, it is your life. Like you do not do anything else." And because I worked out in the field, it was like 24-hour on call while they're drilling wells, and they just call you at 3 a.m. and you have to go out and collect data in the open hole. I mean, it was exciting at the time. But anyway, when my oldest daughter was born, I decided I did not want to do that anymore. And I was ready for a career change. I was ready to be mom. And so I had a lot of fun just being mom for a while. And probably, I'm thinking when my daughter was about 9, and so by then I had another daughter and a son. Or no, maybe it was before my son was born. I don't know. I had little kids. I was in a mom's group, and um, we had a speech language pathologist come to the group and make a presentation. In that moment, I just thought, I want to do that. Like what she's doing, I want to do that. I don't know, it just really piqued my interest. Um, so I am, I would say I'm tend to be a generalist. Like I'm very interested in everything, but then I can't decide what I want to do. And so that was kind of an interesting moment that I said, I want, because normally I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. But, very non-committal. So I remembered that. I couldn't really do anything about it at the time because I'm thinking maybe I was pregnant with my son or something. I mean, I was just like, hey, I should pursue that. Well, looking into things, I found the Eau Claire online um the post-bac program, and I started just like chipping away at classes. And so that was probably, I don't know. I guess I don't remember the chronology exactly. I'm thinking that was a few years later, maybe, because by the time I started taking my classes, my son was about 2.5 or 3. And because my first class was the language development class, so I do remember he had a ton of consonant cluster reductions, and it was, oh, this is what he's doing. Wow, like this is so interesting. I kind of wish that I had started my classes before my other kids had grown up because it would have been so fun to see all those stages happen in real time, but that's okay. So I've been chipping away at classes for years. So my oldest is now 16. So to put this in perspective, um, chipping away like 1 or 2 classes at a time because I didn't really have time to just jump in because taking care of the kids. And okay, in parallel to me taking classes, my husband and I started an oil field equipment rental company, partly because in the 2008 downturn, he lost his job in the oil field. And so we're like, okay, what should we do? So we started this company, and it's been, well, the oil field's very up and down, as you can imagine. And so um, I've been helping out with that company as well, doing some bookkeeping and kind of like doing stuff. So I could do that at home with the kids. Um, However, as the years went on, we have all these like ups and downs. And so at some point I realized like I needed my own separate income stream. Like we cannot both be doing this business. And like, I need to do something else. And that's partly why when I came upon the speech thing, I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And then I guess for other reasons, like just little reasons that I was interested in, like my husband stuttered when he was a child. So I think that's kind of what piqued my interest when the speech pathologist came and spoke. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Just like little things. And like I did a very tiny bit of speech therapy as a kid as well. Because I can say an S with my tongue sticking out. Like like
Oh,
I
wow.
can do it. And so I remember having this argument with my mom about it, of like, I'm saying it. But anyway, so just these little reasons that made me want to do that. Plus, it makes sense financially. So I was just happily chipping away at my classes. However, especially with the 2020 downturn, it's starting to become even more critical that I have a job. And so in 2020, by that time I had done almost all of my post-bac classes, and I decided to do an SLPA certification because in the state of Colorado you have to do an additional certification, and to be able to work, just because I'm having this problem of like I need to make money, but I need to go to grad school to make more money, but I need to make money now, and I'm sure you can kind of relate to that. And so I got my SLPA certificate, started working just a little bit part-time, because I'm still doing the oil field thing. So I'm just kind of keep piling on more things. Meanwhile, in this journey, let's see, when my now 16-year-old 11th grader, when she was in 3rd grade, she really started, like, she could not, she she could make it through school fine, but then she would have these huge tantrums every week. Like we couldn't get it on with the weekend until she had her tantrum. It was very weird. So we did all this psychological testing, and anyway, we decided school didn't work well for her. So then I started to homeschool her at that point. Which is, so all of these little projects that I have is partly why I haven't been able to get the post-bac classes done very fast, or it's been this very slow journey. But then so I've been trying to homeschool at the same time. So really my process has been adding more things and more things and more things and more things. And so now that I did get my SLPA certificate and I'm trying to work and I'm trying to add grad school in now, I'm actually really, really struggling because I don't have enough time to do it all. And so, and I'll talk about my daughter more in my projects in the next section too, then that's why I'm bringing her up. But she, let's see, where am I going with this? I guess, well, no, I'll save her for the projects. That's fine. Um, so yeah, my kids are getting older. Like when kids are young, they take so much work and you can't leave them alone. And so you would think that as they get older, you would have more time, and there is more flexibility. I don't have to worry about leaving the house for a little bit or whatever. But now I have an elementary, a middle, and a high school student. So it's 3 different schools and 3 different schedules plus my own work schedule. And I have so many different school schedules. I'm going kind of crazy. Um, so anyway, I'm in the position right now that I'm really excited about this degree. I'm excited about working as an SLPA and learning as much as I can at the same time, but I'm having a hard time doing it all at the same time. So, um, yeah, I guess sometimes I think about it, and you kind of mentioned this as well, that it's going to take a while, like we're just at the very beginning of it. It's 3 more years, because then I think about it. It's 3 more years before I actually have a full-time income, because I'm not even trying to work full-time or like at that next pay grade or whatever. So yeah, that's me. And even my start to grad school, well, I should say I'm like a straight A, really hard worker student kind of person, and I am not getting homework handed in, which is very new. Like I don't do that, and it's happening to me, and it's almost a surreal situation of like what am I doing? Like that's not me at all. And so um my daughter, well, maybe I will talk about my daughter because she's not getting her homework done right now, and I'm so stressed about trying to get her homework done that I'm actually not doing my own homework because I'm like all my attention is going towards hers. So I kind of feel like this project is maybe for me specifically right now. So I appreciate getting to do that because I really do need to figure something out because I want to do this program. I've been waiting a really long time to do it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I even applied for this program a couple years ago. I deferred starting by 1 year because because part of me is feels like, no, I need to get this job faster. We need money. I need to go, go, go. And then I was accepted. And then in the spring, when I had to accept, my daughter was really struggling. And so in that moment, I just didn't feel like I could commit to it. Well, then a whole another year goes by and they say, hey, are you ready to start? And I just like, I guess so. I mean, I need to start this because it's going to take 3 more years. But she's not exactly done struggling. So,
Well, it sounds like you really prioritize your family, April, and I think that that is something to admire. And I'm sorry that your plate is so full, but I know that like I can tell from your personality that if this were to land on anyone's lap, it would take a personality like the lady that worked in the fields to handle this. Do you know what I mean? Like it takes a certain kind of grit, and I know that you know yourself, and I know that you feel like you're drowning, and I'm sure there's that sentiment is shared, but maybe not to the same degree. So there's a certain amount of grit that it takes to kind of pull yourself by your own bootstraps and make this happen. And there's going to be weeks where it's like this just can't be done, and you just kind of have to take the L. But um, I know that you can do it. I know that you can do it, and I'm sorry that you are taking on so much, but I'm sure that your daughter is really appreciative of your time. Is there anything that you've learned from the oil rigs that you can kind of like carry over? Like, is there any like, oh, we've got our back up against the wall, but we're still making it happen? Is there something like that?
um, probably my biggest takeaway from the oil field actually was just learning to work with different people or learning about different personality types. Um, and the importance of communication,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Which I didn't really think about it, but and actually working in the oil field is what partly helped me realize I wanted to do something else because um there was this client relations workshop that I went to, and it was like Myers-Briggs personality index, whatever that is, and we all took the tests, and then, you know, learning like different personalities relate to other personalities different ways. But they kept data on all of the employees who came through, and my personality type was the second least represented in the company. And it made me stop and pause and say, oh, no wonder I think all of my colleagues are total assholes. And like, I don't want to be here. And like, this is the, but again, I could do it. Like, I could do it. I had the ability to do it, but I didn't love it. And it sort of gave me this good wake up call of like, well, you don't have to do this just because you can, which is kind of what I'm struggling with right now because I have so much on my plate and I need to delegate some things and get rid of some things. And so I'm struggling with that right now of like, just because you can doesn't mean you have to.
Yeah.
Because I like to do a lot of things. And then I think I like just because I can do them doesn't mean like just because I can do the bookkeeping for our company doesn't mean that
You should.
I should do it anymore because I've already decided that that's not what I want to do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, then maybe we can kind of move from that to the personal project. So could you please walk me
Yeah.
through the personal project analysis you completed and your thought process as you filled it out? So please discuss only what you are comfortable with sharing. However, the goal is for you to help me understand what you believe to be most fundamentally important to your living well, to your success in the graduate program, and any barriers that may be present.
All right. So this kind of felt like I mentioned this, it kind of felt like this is what I need to do right now. Um, and it's not new things that I haven't been thinking about. I mean, I've really been racking my brain this whole fall. Like, something's got to give. Something's got to give. Like, where is this going to come down? Like, what is going to give first? And some of the things that I came up with that I need to do, most of them are related to time because I'm really struggling with time right now because honestly, I don't really believe in time. And I never really have. I've just always tried to do too many things. I mean, even when I was a kid, I remember my parents at some point were like, you cannot play 3 sports. You can only play 2 sports at a time. They're like, enough. Like, you have to, like, you can't do everything. So I do have one of mine is actually believe in time. Um, as well as delegating tasks because I really feel like right now I need to get rid of some things, so I need to delegate them to other people. Um, family time, again, time, because I feel like I'm not really like I want to do the grad school, but I don't want to do that and then not see my family. For example, on Sundays, my goal here is actually to make Sunday the family day, which means I have to hand in my homework before Sunday because otherwise Sunday turns into my homework day. And that's the day that we're usually around because my kids are busy too because I signed them up for lots of things because I like to be busy and keep them busy. But, you know, Sunday we're, you know, they're at the house and then I'm in my room like, no, I have to do my homework. Leave me alone. So that was one of my goals of making time for the family. Also making more time for mindfulness because you really don't have to spend a lot of time to make a big difference. Um, and I have reminders on my watch that are like time for mindfulness, and I'm usually like, leave me alone, like be quiet. I don't have time for that, but I would like to actually pause. It could be even like a minute or two. Um, and then I even wrote down my daughter Lainey, um, because, well, I didn't really mention this in this story. So we did all this psychological testing in 3rd grade, and then we did it again a year, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Well, the second time we did the testing, she came back with an autism diagnosis, which was, it makes a lot more sense now. And I think a lot has happened in like autism research in girls, I think. So I don't want to say that the first psychologist just had no clue. I think maybe she didn't have the right tools at the time. But she now has an autism diagnosis, so she does have a little more support at school. Her thing is that she's so highly functional that everybody thinks she should just be normal, including me. I mean, I'm guilty of this every day. I'm just like, why aren't you just doing it? So for that reason, I'm happy to be in this field because I feel like I should be like hopefully I will learn more on how to help her more, but at the same time I feel frustrated and because I'm not really, there's so many days that I think I don't even know what to do with her. I mean, she even sees a speech language pathologist at her school. I'm like, good luck. I don't know what to do with her because it is more of an executive functioning thing that they work on of just like planning time and like and it's more of an anxiety. Honestly, hers probably anxiety is her biggest problem. But I put her down here. Like she's one of my big projects because she's probably sucking up a lot of my time, which I realized actually when I went on to the pluses and minuses, I realized it helped me kind of highlight that she's a priority. And honestly, the priority is helping her, but also maybe just letting myself step away because right now I feel like it's my fault that she's not doing her homework, and it's going to be my fault if she's not um if she doesn't pass her classes, even though I think she just doesn't have any motivation to. Like grades don't mean anything to her. Um so maybe it's like I just need to let it go. I don't know. Um we have some meetings set up later this month for like alternative high school things. So we'll see what they say. I guess the biggest thing with my daughter is that she's very bright. And so it's just that it's kind of like hard to access it in a standard educational setting. I mean, she wants to do what she wants to do. And if it's like reading a text about American government, she doesn't want to do that. So then she doesn't. And all she really wants to do is dance because she's a gifted dancer and she wants to be a dancer. But so I'm really, really struggling. And the really big irony is that, and I think I mentioned this, is that by her not, by me worrying about her not doing her homework, I am not doing my homework. And I'm actually doing exactly what she does, which is she has a lot of anxiety. Then she doesn't want to touch it. She doesn't want to look at it. And I've started doing that too, because I've gotten behind enough that I think, oh, I need to see what I need to do. And then I feel so bad about it that I don't even want to look. So it's being a very interesting process. I'm like, okay, like time out. I see what we're doing. Like we need to work through this. Um, so those are the personal ones that I put down. And then in terms of this graduate program, I think the absolute biggest thing is I need to start doing my homework on time. Um, and then I also need to keep working on setting up the clinical placements, which I'm really excited about. But if I procrastinate, I won't have anything to do or anywhere to go for that. And then also at my work, it's been very hectic because we don't have enough SLPs. So we're constantly shuffling people around and they just hired a bunch of teletherapists and I don't know. Like I still don't really know what my schedule is, so I feel like I'm spending too much of my time worrying about what's happening versus how to do really great sessions with the kids that I do have. Um, and also just keeping up with my notes at work there. So I didn't write it down. I mean, my overall goal is is um to do this graduate program successfully. But I didn't write that down because I kind of wanted to do the more specific things. The really useful thing, I guess, like ranking all of the numbers really kind of like made me go crazy at first. However, once I did it, I kind of appreciated having done it. It took me a little while to kind of get into the flow of it. And I really like doing like looking at how the projects impacted each other, because that's when I really saw that me worrying about my daughter was kind of impacting everything else. So I realized like that is the biggest priority. We need to come up with a plan, and I need to step away from it emotionally as well. Um, just because it's sucking up my time. Because in the evening, when I could maybe do my own work, I'm trying to get her to do her work. And then I'm so tired, I fall asleep, and then that was it. Nothing happened. So, the other really major project that I think I need to work on is the delegating of other tasks, such as like the bookkeeping things, which I mentioned I like math, and I actually love spreadsheets. Like they bring me great joy and I love it. And that's why I'm having a hard time handing these things off, because I actually, if I have time, I like to do it. But I don't have time to do it right now. So somebody else can do that. Um, so I did. I actually added up. I don't know if this was how legitimate it is, but I added up all the totals on the side, which you can't see because it's blurry. But then I could kind of see like, whoa, these projects really have an impact versus like positive or negative versus the ones that just kind of float around. So
Mhm.
the other interesting thing I noticed is that some of my tasks kind of line up with each other. Like as I was doing it, I realized that like if I delegate the tasks and lighten my obligations, and then I can reduce stress, which will help me with my mindfulness goal, but then it will also give me time to reallocate to the homework. So then it's sort of like if I can delegate those tasks, then I can start on my homework um, progress, which is if I'm turning my homework in on time, then I will pass my classes and I will finish grad school and get a job and improve our financial situation. So um, they definitely are helping each other. Also, I need to finish my homework so that I can then focus the family time on Sundays, which I want to do as well. So definitely interrelated,
Well, sounds
which
like it
is
was helpful.
useful.
Sounds like it,
Yeah,
yeah, wonderful. All right. Well, if there's anything else that you wanted to add before I go on to the next.
I don't think so. No.
Okay. So now I just want you to reflect on your experience completing the personal project assignment. So how did you feel about it as you filled it out?
It actually, it was kind of emotional. I think you mentioned that as well, that I it's all these things that I've been thinking about, and it's just in my head all the time. I think when I'm driving to different activities, I'm like, what am I gonna do? I have to do something, but it helped me to kind of face the facts. Like, okay, this is what's going on, but where do I want to end up? What do I want to happen? So it
Okay,
kind of
good.
helped me organize my thoughts about it.
What were the lessons that you kind of gathered from it?
It well, what I already know about myself is that if I have time, I will fill it up. And so I kind of wish that um I kind of wish that I wasted time, or that I did frivolous things. You know, like I wish that I spent 5 hours a day watching TV, and then I could say, "Oh, well, let me cut back on that." But I look at what I do and I think, what can I cut back on? Because it's already full. Like I really fill up my time already, and everything's so I mean, I had more other fun projects listed that didn't make it to this like the second stage, because I have to figure out time management right now. Like that is pretty much the overarching like must figure out first.
Well, that's
So,
great. I mean, not great that you don't have the time, but at least you can see it. So that's one step. And
right.
yeah, I'm right there with you. I feel it. Like there's nothing left to cut. So you just you don't know where to turn sometimes. So was there anything unexpected, like any revelations that I know you kind of have a good map of where you're at, but anything you saw on paper that was like, oh, that stands out to me?
I think seeing my daughter, because I think in my mind, helping her was not necessarily, well, because obviously I can't not do her, like I'm not gonna cut her out, but it made me realize what a huge impact her struggle was having on me, that it, not cutting it out, but just making it a priority of, we need to figure something out, and I need to lean on the resources that the district has to offer, because she's gotten some different referrals for very like alternative programs or whatever, which we're going to do later this month. So it kind of, because it really was a different level than the other things. And I saw like, okay, she is, I mean, obviously she's a high priority, but it was more like it's really negatively impacting what I'm trying to do.
I get it.
And so, yeah. And it was actually very emotional for me when I was going through this, of like, wow, I need to step away from it, really. Yeah.
Well, you kind of touched on this already, and kind of answered it, but do you feel like this project led to that decision or any different commitments or actions? Or commitments to actions, I should say?
I think it made me be more concrete in what I can do, of because I've all fall, as I mentioned, I've been thinking, what, something's gotta give. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And this made me feel like I have to find some specific things that I need to do. So yeah, I
Okay.
think it helped me with that.
And last question, are the personal projects you've undertaken aligned with your narrative story and your standard or stated motivations and goals for becoming a speech language pathologist? I know that you started with that person that came in and at your mom group, but obviously you're a much different person. Things, not different person, but different story, and things are so different now. So is it still kind of aligned?
Um, yeah, it's a lie. I have to admit, I have moments when I think like, is this what I really want to do? Because I feel like I know enough that to have more doubts about it, just in terms of therapy, of like knowing what to do, or I feel overwhelmed, like I don't even know what to say or do in these situations. So I've definitely had some moments of doubt, of like, oh my gosh, do I really even want to do this? But I'm too far in that, yes, this is what I want to do. And I think I'm already thinking and breathing in terms of speech, that it'd be really hard. I kind of forget that not everybody does that. And so like what we as speech people do, like we're processing things differently. So no, I think it is what I want to do. It's more like um and well, my projects are aligned with that in terms of, okay, you need to figure out how to make it happen logistically right now, because
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
time is finite.
time is
Even if
fine.
I don't believe in it, right? Even if I don't believe it is finite.
Well, thank you, April. And thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. All right.
You're welcome.